Derivative trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right, so let's. Oh, you know what? You can't really tell so bad. My head looks ridiculous. Look at. Can you see how it's like? It is like shedding. I'm shedding. The truth is I'm actually a snake, and this is just this happens every year. No, I've been working out in the yard, and I got a little sunburn on Saturday, and it is peeling, which I'm surprised because I didn't really get that sunburn, but whatever, doodah. I knew this old guy. He would always say doodah, whatever. I don't care. All right, so this market, we had a little bit of a move down. Where's the charts? We had a little bit of a move down in the Treasuries, another step down. So we're kind of targeting, there's still some levels down on the downside that could fill in here for sure. There's still that gap up there though. But things are pretty quiet over the past, hour or so. Well, we've been pretty flat at 126.18. Now, today we got some numbers. Today we have the PPI number. We are expecting a reading of spot 2% on the core PPI with a PPI reading of spot 1. In the meantime, Donald Trump. The United States has very low inflation, a beautiful thing. Does he know something? Does he know something? Because he is tweeting about inflation 15 minutes before the inflation number comes out. I'm not yet. Does he know something? What is this? I haven't seen anybody say anything about it in Discord. Let's copy and paste that. I can't believe that he is tweeting. He is tweeting about inflation before the inflation number. Are you talking about it? What is going on here? Well, the market hasn't reacted to it. The market is just staying put. But man, this is just... I don't know how I feel about this. We are at the point now, I think, that I really have no clue what's going to happen. I'm not convinced that this PPI number will be a huge deal. I mean, usually the CPI number is a little bit bigger of a deal. They're low anyways. We've got bond auctions this week and stuff too, which... And the market has just been pointing down. For us to move down, typically, if inflation is higher than expected, then we move down. But given the current economic situation, if it's not high, I don't know what happens. Oh my gosh. These people. European landmarks have a question they desperately need answering. How do you stop the tourists from coming? This is because the euro and other currencies are devalued against the dollar, putting the US at a big disadvantage. The Fed interest rate, way too high, added ridiculous quantitative tightening. They don't have a clue. Does he know that the number is going to be low? I mean, if the number is going to be low, I think we want to buy it. We can put some limit orders in. How's it going, Uzi? It's a little bit lighter this morning, but we still got everybody coming in. I guess most of you guys don't come in until we likely start. About like 7:20. I have been getting a little late the past week or so. And good morning, Wrong. Sorry about the birds. It just gets light so early nowadays. And my wife is going on another business trip, so she's up early and he can hear her moving around. And my mom is helping us with the yard, so she's out there right now. I can't believe that she woke up this early. But she had something that she wanted to do, so she's out there, and so he's going to be screaming at her if he can see her. Why does he write very low inflation in capitals? I don't. Yes. So just some of you are come in here. Donald Trump has tweeted, "The United States has a very low inflation, a beautiful thing." Now it is a very beautiful thing, but we have PPI number coming up here in 10 minutes. Does he know that number? I don't know if the president gets that number. I think he can. Let's see here, because it comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It does. And I know that they get some of those, like the jobs numbers, they get the night before, right? I'll tell you why, because it's not English, not technically. Well, and the thing is, go ahead. Technically, in court, he can say it was written in capitals, and that's not English. I don't know. This is very odd. It is possible that he knows nothing about the PPI number, and he doesn't realize that that number is about to come out, and he doesn't realize that it's a relevant thing, and he's just responding to this Bloomberg opinion piece. But for us, we have to consider the possibility that he knows that the number is going to come in low. Now, it's kind of interesting, he says, because he says the United States has a very low inflation. It could be a company name. Yeah, I guess. Is that your new rock band, Very Low Inflation? Should be. That'd be a great band name. I mean, the thing is we have had, inflation has been, I would use the phrase muted. Inflation has been muted, but the Federal Reserve has kept interest rates low so that we still get inflation. We still get inflation, right? It's muted. To say we're very low inflation is kind of, hey, if it was very low inflation, we'd be getting spot 0. Okay. We should be getting like spot 3, maybe sometimes spot 4, between 2 to 4. And that's technically what we get. So it's not like the low inflation is like a big deal. But the reason that the low inflation is not a big deal is because we have this instrument called the Federal Reserve that can change interest rates and control that so that it doesn't get out of hand. So I wouldn't agree with the phrase very low inflation, but man, I'm just flabbergasted. And you know what else? I was really scared to get on stream today because my head is peeling and I thought it would look ridiculous, but you guys can barely even see. So I feel good about that. I was thinking, like, I don't know what's more embarrassing, my head peeling or losing 8 tick winners 3 times in a row. That's embarrassing, folks. They don't have a clue. Trump blames Fed for strong dollar, says interest rates way too high. Okay. He's exaggerating. This is kind of the problem, is that he's got, he'll have a point. Inflation is low. Federal Reserve probably shouldn't have raised interest rates in December. But he has to exaggerate everything. And it undermines the anybody that's trying to make the intelligent argument, The intelligent argument is that the economy was starting to look not so great in December, and we have these tariffs going on, and there's reason for the Federal Reserve to be cautious, and they raised rates in December despite market protestations, and it was a big mistake. That's the intelligent argument. But he's out there yelling and raving, and now everybody's just gonna. Now everybody thinks that it's just crazy rants, you know? Well, somebody is starting to go along with my theory, I think, because they're buying it up at 18.5. I don't know. One time when Trump was doing a speech, he said the markets were up and they immediately went down. Yeah. Have you noticed that? And this isn't just a Donald Trump thing. It did it under Obama too. But anytime that officials try and talk up the market will sell. Almost every time I've seen that. It was the worst in 2008 because every day Obama would come, everything's fine, it's great, the economy is great, and we're gonna do all these great things, and they would sell it. And it went like that for like months before finally one day they said, hey, you know what? Let's just shut up. They didn't have a news conference that day. Jay Carney didn't come out, and that was the bottom. They totally do that. Like, he's saying the interest rates are way too high. The market may just sell off big time just to piss him off. Well, so I think that there's two things that go on in that kind of dynamic. Okay. One dynamic is that hold on here. Make sure that everything's it's okay. I sound a little quieter than usual, but one of the things is that if you don't intentionally go out and try and talk up markets unless there's really something wrong. Now, when it's the president, it's maybe not, because the president usually is not an economist, right? So he doesn't necessarily know if something's very, very wrong or not. You know, when the Federal Reserve chairman comes out and he tries to start talking up markets, then, I get concerned. But the other thing that goes on, and I really think that people don't discount this enough. The market is liberal. It is. Most of these guys that are like the big market makers at the top banks are Democrats. There's no mistake that this Beyond Meat company, a very liberally minded company, is doing so ridiculously well and is going well beyond all of Wall Street's expectations. It's because there are a lot of liberal people out there that have money. Apparently, most of the money is in the cities right now, right? And so the available investors out there tend to be liberal, and so they want to invest in a liberal company. That's an edge, frankly, that you can have as a regular person. If you don't live in New York, invest in things that people in New York won't know anything about, right? That was how things like Subaru and Taco Bell happened. It's because of Wall Street had no clue. They didn't go to those places. And so, I think that when Donald Trump comes out and says something, I think that there are some traders that intentionally sell the market against him because they disagree with him politically. And they think that it's a good trade. And of course, in their mind, because the trade works out, they think that it's a good trade, even though it probably, reverses every time anyways and ends up being not a big deal. Okay. 15 seconds. They did not pull that much. So I find that curious. Okay. Okay. I'm not seeing PPI spot one versus spot one. and core spot 2. So numbers in line. Numbers in line. Maybe he didn't know that the PPI number was coming out. I'm going to tweet. Yep, that wasn't much of anything. That wasn't much of anything. They did move down. So I think that these guys, there was some people that probably bought at 17.5 on the expectation that we were going to move up. And the numbers came out in line. And so they dumped it. You can see here in the cumulative delta was almost exactly equal to the move up. Well, man, guys, I don't know. With a disappointment like that, I'm not so sure that this is a good trade for me. We'll see. Maybe a real trend pops out of nowhere and pushes us down. I mean, the trend at this point is definitely down. I kind of question, though, how far we can go down and if we're not going to get another risk flush at some point. Maybe not today, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. You know? So we kind of got that thing where it was like on Monday, you get the risk higher thing, and then it doesn't turn out, and they just slowly sell it down after that. What time is it for me? It is 6:33. I have the clock down in the lower right corner, if you can see. I tried to make it nice and big for you guys, so that it's easier when you're scrubbing back through the video to find a specific event. It's 10 p.m. here. Oh, so you were in Europe? Not Europe. You must be in Asia, right? Because India is almost exactly 4 hours, or almost exactly 12 hours for me. So it's like between 6 and 8 o'clock there in India. So you must be 3 time zones over. So you must be in like China or Japan. Okay. So now that we've moved down, there's a little bit of excitement. Sydney. Okay. Yes. There are a lot of traders in Australia. I've met a lot of traders from Australia. It's a popular thing down there, apparently. Well, they really fell down there, guys. I don't know. Perhaps you could say, since inflation remains in line, that the Federal Reserve has no reason to change policy. And if they don't lower rates in June, then perhaps we're too high. That already kind of turned there, though. And actually go for the low. I think you're going to get a little bit of a pullback, and it might be one of those pullbacks that's like, we'd like to get short, but it doesn't give you a good spot. I don't know. Kind of interesting. It's a decent amount trading at 16.5. The E-mini is moving up again. Sydney. So I think the guys that I knew one guy from Perth. That's like on the other side of the continent, right? I don't think that Americans realize how big Australia is. It is big. And there is like, people live on the coasts. I mean, that's what humans do. I'm convinced that humans are sea monkeys, actually. We're monkeys that evolved to live on coasts. And that's why our skin, like, wrinkles up when we've been in the water too long. So that we have grip when catch fish with. Anyways, but it is just one gigantic continent. Not quite as big as the US, but almost. I think it's like 80% the size, right? Yeah. I don't know. And there's like nothing in between. It's just this huge expansive wilderness of almost nothing. Oh, there's a picture of Australia put on top. Yes, I've seen that. It's been a while. We'll find it. Let's all. Australia compared to US. No, you're right. It's almost exactly as big as the United States. There's a big red rock in the middle of Australia. Well, it's interesting to me that it's just desert. It's not really the elevation, though, is it? Why is it desert in Australia? Because they have elevations to have like snow in some areas. They don't have very big mountains, but if they had bigger mountains, maybe they'd have snow. Do you know Urulu? No, I've never heard of that. Uluru. Uluru. It is a massive sandstone monolith in the heart of the Northern Territory Red Center near large town Alice Springs, 450 kilometers away. It's in the middle of nowhere. Good grief. Oh, it is a really, really big sandstone rock. That's something else. I will show you guys. That's what he's talking about. It's a gigantic sandstone rock in the middle of nowhere. Well, back to 17.5. Yeah, I wasn't kidding. I tell you what, I remember I had a good friend. I haven't seen him in a while, and I think that maybe trading was a little bit too much for him for a while. But oh man, he had this good thing. He wanted like better footprints, so I was kind of helping him make better footprints. I never quite finished that. I want to go back and finish the footprints, but then they were like adding it into Jigsaw. I was like, maybe there's no point. But and he had this thing. He would show me in the currencies. He would watch the currencies and look at the level 2, and it was like the level 2 would give you exactly the wrong signal. They would signal a certain way, make you think that it was going to go one way, and then the market maker would just move it up here. And he would just take that every time. And he was doing it really well. I don't think that it, worked permanently, but he had a good thing, and he was always looking at he wanted his opinion was find literally every indicator out there and just find which one was working well that day and trade that. And he had so many stuff then, but it was such an excited guy. It was always fun to talk to him because he was always so excited about everything. And he had the Australian accent. It was just, it's just like etched into my memory. One of those people you just never, like, if I was a writer and I was writing a movie, I would write a character like that because it was just so fun to listen to him. And we'd get on Skype and I'd try and solve some of the issues he was having with it because he was doing some of the programming himself, but I was helping him. And the snakes or the spiders probably got him. And every time that stuff gets posted on Reddit, it's like, no thanks. Remember there was that picture that was like, it was like a snake and a spider and something else all killing each other. Man, that was, I'm too lazy to go and find it right now. What is going on here? Do you think that they're going to make it back to 19.5? Okay, no, down tick at 18. That liquidity at 17, I think, is a little odd. It's like they came down, and now all of a sudden, you know what? I need to fix this. I've decided that I just want it to be 8. I just want it to be 8. The 4. This should be 8. That'll just be a lot easier. Okay. Let's see if we get another tick up to 19 if it follows. Because that's a little odd. It's a little, okay. So we ticked up and these orders didn't move, but there is a pretty good stack at 17.5 now. Now, this is all happening while the E-mini is on a pretty good run in the morning. Well, they faded late in the day in the equities. They had a late fade. They came up overnight. They made a higher high. They're probably set up for a good sell in the E-mini. Okay, now they're stacking at 18.5 a little bit. We're going to watch that 18. I want to see what they put there. This is a good stack, 2000, but this 19's not. They want fills, I think. Okay. So on the uptick, my 18 is now stacked to 5,000. That's good. Okay. So 3,019. So definitely some profit taking right there. The way that it's stacking though and everything, I think that we could continue to have more. So I think I want to hold off and see what happens. This is curious. They gonna come out and sell the E-mini? This well, okay, so I'm not seeing a ton at 17.5 now. At one point there was 5,000, now it's 4,500. Now there's almost 5,000 at 18. So I think that particular order moved up to 18, but it's 4,800, it's not 539. Okay. I can see there is a target up at 21.5. There's also some showing up in the 5-year at 11.5. The 30-year got really bought up and is having some really strong bids underneath of it. I think that this kind of trend is a little scary. Not scary like, oh, I might lose, but a little scary like we might see some really ugly selling in the E-mini. Notice that it started in the Treasuries first. It's stacking. And now here in the E-mini, they had a little bit of a move up. They came below it and some liquidity stacked on top of it as they came down through 2907. So the somebody may have started a move. Somebody may be looking to sell the E-mini big time. I shouldn't be saying that. He's sitting there like, stop. You're giving it away. And this alligator's typing. Let's see if he agrees with me that the E-mini looks too high. Okay. So 19.5 was where we saw the ice breaking, right? While still at 2907 in ES, yeah. Well, if they start to sell, there's two little kind of walls, 2906 and 290475, also 290350. Liquidity is still light in the E-mini, so that might not matter, but yeah, if they push down below those, this could be gangbusters. Like, okay. They're ticking up. Somebody's trying to fight it there, but they don't seem to care too much. 5 years seems to be poised up. And what's, so interestingly enough, I'm not seeing the FYT spread change, and I'm seeing the knob spread is actually steepened somewhat. They're buying it stronger in the 30-year. Not so sure about ES gap fill. Yes, Treasuries filling gap 2. Not sure they succeed. Oh yeah, there is this gap thing again. And they're gonna want to try and get to the previous day's close, sort of a thing. I don't know. Okay, so there was a big iceberg. Well, not a big, but there was a 3K at 19.5. So there's still some people buying it. Although they didn't really stack here at like 18.5 and 19 as strongly as would be preferable. E-mini is also, even though it's selling, it's very slow. Do you use tick or volume charts or range? Good question. I don't think it really matters, but for treasuries, I like to look at every little move. So I use the one range chart for the treasuries. For the E-mini, I've got 1,000 tick chart. Because I like to see something that's not related to time, especially during the time that we trade, Sometimes to see those patterns, I think you don't see them very clearly on the minute charts. So then I'll use a tick chart. I use tick charts over here on these currency ones as well. I have a volume. This one is a volume chart right here. I don't have that one running. I need to fix that. I forget to enable enabling the strategy adds this stuff to it. There we go. So this is a volume chart. And then, this one is my 30-minute chart. Is there any news causing this pressure higher? No. I mean, the thing is, UB had quite the run. The thing is that, so we had the PPI news, right? There was some people. Let me just try and walk through it. And maybe if we walk through it, we'll see something. There was some people buying into the PPI news, possibly because Donald Trump tweeted about inflation. Then the numbers came out. Numbers were in line with expectations. So that move came down. Then we had a rush down to the lows of the day. That was quite an impulsive move. They came down very, very quickly, but they did not pressure the overnight low. It went down and it was kind of quiet. So it kind of felt like it was just ranging and stopping people out. And then ever since that move, it's been higher. And I took it at 18 because that was the point at which maybe I should have been paying more attention, but that was the point at which I saw them starting to stack at 17. So, the only read that I can make from that is that there was some sort of a rejection at 16.5. But the observation that UB had quite a run, I think, is an important observation. ZB had quite a run. The knob spread is flattening. Am I reading that right? That the knob spread is flattening. Did I say steepen? I think I said steepen earlier. Are tick charts better than volume charts when you combine the tick chart plus horizontal volume at the bottom of the chart? I don't know. The thing at the bottom is cumulative delta, right? So I guess it kind of tells you, it kind of gives you an idea of how big the players are, because if you see a really big change in cumulative delta, but only like 1 bar, then that means that it was probably all one big player, versus if, you get a lot of bars there. But I don't watch them that strongly, to be honest. The only one that I really, really keep an eye on is the 6J. 6J hasn't been giving us too many clues lately. Like, they are up a little bit, just a teensy wint. Like for a 100 tick chart, you can see how much volume per 100 ticks. Yeah, exactly. But I didn't do it that way. I honestly, I didn't think about it that deep. I just picked the tick chart and picked the number that looked the best to me, that showed me what I was trying to see that particular day. Because I really don't, the main reason that I look back at those charts is so that I can go back and I can say, okay, we've had a strong move up in Treasuries. Why? What are some correlations that might tell us why? Well, the E-mini was overbought there, but there wasn't a strong correlation with the E-mini. So it could be because they're planning on selling the E-mini. Oh, by the way, stack at 19 now. That's good. 6J. And 6J didn't really move. British pound didn't really move. Euro moved a little bit. Still within the range of the evening, but Euro was a little different. So maybe it's because of that. Maybe it's because of that move in currencies. Okay, so now they try to take 20 again. A little bit of profit taking there. It doesn't really tell you anything else, right? No. I mean, I definitely don't take trades off of it, based off of it. I just look at it as like, okay, what do I think is happening? Do all of my correlations match up correctly? And then is it supported in order flow? And is it the day right? You know? So for me, I'm sitting here thinking on the day, well, there is some news today. And it's PPI news, and that tends to move us. We tend to move a lot on PPI days. Well, not a lot, but we tend to get okay moves off of PPI, CPI. Tuesday, we tend to have okay trading. Wednesday is the best day, but Tuesday we tend to have okay trading. It's the beginning of the, well, it's still the first half of the month. We're still in the data half of the month. So can we get a good move? Yeah. Can we get 8 ticks? That might be stretching it. But so far the trend has been good, and the correlations. The big one is the E-mini there. It seems to me like that the E-mini is overbought, and that they need to pull back before the open. So that was, and then the order flow supported it. They were stacking at 16.5 and 17, and we were above the open, so I took it. Insistent seller in ES. Look at them go. The funny thing about it is, like, think back to yesterday. I had that one good trade at the beginning, but then afterwards, I was really fighting. The market was coming back. I fought that, and then it came to a spot where it was just dead, and I fought that too, right? And to me, it looked like we were going to move up, and we never did. Now I think it's like the exact same thing opposite. Like you go in there at 20. There's a good reason that maybe it would stop at 20. Maybe it would stop at 20.5. And it kind of makes it look like, okay, maybe that's going to happen. And then you get a big tick up, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, but it's on the other side. And when I'm seeing it on the other side, I'm like, this looks good. It's order flow is just so tricky like that. Your feeling at the time has such an impact on what you read. And two people with different biases will see the order flow and take two completely different things out of it. That's why you need to have edge beyond just order flow, though. Hot temperatures to the west. 105 degrees in Las Vegas. Ew. It's already getting hot. Well, it's mid-June. It's about time. Shouldn't say it's already. It's about time for that. We've had a relatively cool May and June. Like, I'm still working outside and doing okay. Yeah, that was a strong uptick too. Now that's 28. That's a 3K bidding there. That's getting a little overdone, perhaps. The E-mini still has not puked. Usually pointing out that there was an assistant seller in the ES, but then he says he got filled, and as he said he got filled, the Treasuries came, or the E-mini pulled back. Hmm. So this bid at 21 is maybe a little suspicious in my opinion. We're gonna see if they just snap up 21 half. So far they've got 500 orders to go into it. Nope. No, he took it. That's interesting. But the 21 half is stacking a little bit. So this is a tough one because my target is like exactly in the right spot. Um, there is maybe reason to take it off at 21 when you get a reasonable sell. Well, a decent volume there at 21. But I found that they like to go through those for a tick or two. So there's still a good chance that I get filled at 22. The E-mini has not sold yet, though. They came back. If there's another sell coming in here, I'd be interested if Ace comes in here and is like and starts selling it, because I think that would probably be a good trade. ZV seems to think it'll break. Sellers taking a big. Ooh, yeah, look at that. 1,000 at 11. That's a lot to buy at the high end ZB. I don't normally see level breaks in ZB the way that I do the other instruments, but that is a level break setup right there. That is iceberg buying one tick below the high, the local high. Usually they'll pull 12 and take 13, 14. And there's enough trend, frankly, from this that you have a pretty good probability on that trade too. Probably would need to convince the 5-year. 5-year doesn't look very good, well set up for a level break trade at the moment. They would need to tick up to 11 half and okay. There was a few ticks down in the E-mini now. Kremlin. Idea of a Trump-Putin meeting at the G20 later this month is hanging in the air. There are no discussions about specifics yet. To talk about what? Yeah. If I was Donald Trump, and this is probably the exact opposite of what they're thinking, but if I was Donald Trump, I would probably be thinking if there's no real reason for me to talk to Putin, I probably shouldn't. Because the left, the United States left, just loves to harp on that for some reason. They're hyper focused on the Russia thing still. I don't know. It's not really. ZB did a 17 tick swing. I've seen a move like this before. Mexican president says we are optimistic we will deal with the migration issue. ZB just kind of sitting there quietly. A few have bought 12 now. Okay. And they were able to make 20 half go offer again. They're still buying it though. ZB did tick down. They are putting a pretty big order there now at 21.5. Although I suspect that if we tick back up there, I think that that'll just straight up pull. 2 and 5 and pull back yet. E-mini is coming back up to that big order at 29.07. He took 01 to 07. That's interesting. What was it at 07 then? How'd you get out? Interesting. I guess there was a little bit of zippering around there. Yeah, 2 contracts. Good trade, Uzi. Well, it's kind of interesting how we were able to. I think that we kind of caught this trend a little bit on watching the E-mini, but the E-mini hasn't exactly done what I thought it was going to do, has it? Just good at old-fashioned paranoia, my usual signal, right? I don't know, guys. This is pretty weird. It may be the case that we just had a technical move. I don't know. So they kind of tried to take that at 20.5 aggressively, but they didn't stay bid. Like they tried to sweep it, and there was an iceberg there. ES chewing at the wall. Well, they traded a few into it, and it's already pulled back. $3K iceberg. More than that, even. So maybe some more profit taking. You're getting a decent stack at 21 as well. So they're kind of hinting that that's the top end of this. I'd say, though, that was some pretty aggressive buying there. Honestly, I've been paying more attention to resting bids and offers or on the Vista chart per Smash's info. Stuff is ridiculously helpful. All right. Like the looking at the whole thing and like the further out to see if people are placing trades and stuff. That's what made the long and ZB an easy call. So do you mean like when you saw all of this stacking, these 1000s stack below us in ZB? It does kind of look like that ZB still wants to go higher, doesn't it? What about UB? Yeah, UB can't really tell me a whole lot, can it? Okay. Well, they took They took an offer at 12 pretty easily there. Hmm. And now the market maker is not barely doing anything at 20. I mean, he ticked down a few. Well, I think that I should take this 20. Oh, hold on. I mean, yeah, you can see it in the numbers on the DOM too. Yeah. And it's not telling me that he's not going to let me out at 20. So is this thing going to pull all the way back now? ZB did pull back. I mean, that's a clean 1, 2, 3, 4 tick pullback in ZB. So ZB really likes to do 4 or 5 tick pullback. Five-year, not the level 2 in the 5-year is a little bizarre. It's the 5-year is definitely not in charge. Normally, one of these would be really low and there'd be a clear. It's kind of actually going back and forth quite a bit, and it's not ticking along with the 10-year at all. I'm not sure I'd say a magnet, but like when you see resting bids or offers, you're really just looking to see if that price holds. If it holds, or the market isn't willing to trade there, the stacking is what you want to see after that. Yes, exactly. If we move up, you want to see these numbers get bigger, and you want to see as you move up, these numbers get lower. And if you move up and you see ones further out get bigger, that's a really good indication people are going long and those are their targets. And of course, with those where those targets are potential stopping spots, because there's going to be more sellers at that spot. They want to take profits. I suspect, although I'm still not quite sure what the deal is with like when we turn, like this one at 21.5, especially, but also the 21, where we came back and now these stacked here. I've noticed that those tend to stay. So I think that it might have been that, you know, those were market makers that were looking for a tick or two and they never got it and they just leave their order up there or something like that. Okay, Donald Trump, a bunch of tweets here. When you are the big piggy bank that other countries have been ripping off for years, tariffs are a great negotiating tool, a great revenue producer, and most importantly, a powerful way to get companies to come to the USA and to get companies that have left us for other lands to come back home. We stupidly lost 30% of our auto business to Mexico. If the tariffs went on at the higher level, they would all come back and pass. But very happy with the deal I made. If Mexico produces, which I think they will, biggest part of the deal with Mexico has not been revealed. China is similar, except they devalue currency and subsidize companies to lessen the effect of a 25% tariff. So far, little affected consumer companies will relocate to the United States. ES is still just going up into that 2907. Well, there's an uptick. So this is exactly the sort of thing is like, okay, so if we had an uptick, 34 behind us, so that's not like super great. But did you see all of these orders shuffled? You see that? Continued stacking hard till 0607 and kind of slowed down at 08 and 09. And the ZB is right back at that 1011 area. This move reminds me of the old days when I traded CB. And John would be like, they want that 16. You watch, it'll be at the 16. They'll probably get there to 16. It's interesting that 16 is at the high of the day. It's usually not the case. But I would say it would be very unusual for ZB to stop there. They got a big move. It's the leader today, which is unusual. But so they're going to do what they want. And they like to come back 5 ticks and then go higher. And so far, they came back 4 ticks. And they are right back up to 153.11. And it looks like they might be able to tick up here to 11.12. When ZB's move started, it traded down into some resting bids, chewed some levels, but held at the deepest price. After traded up, the stacking began and continued stacking hard until 0607 and kind of slowed down at 08 and 09. Yes. It's usually not that obvious, but this time it was. Yes. And it was very obvious in, well, I mean, look at it here in the 10-year. You can see it in the 10-year. You could see it in the 5-year. But man, look at it in the 30-year. Look at how strong, all that white at multiple prices. That's unusual. Unusually strong trend in ZB. Well, 20 goes offer again. Kind of looks like they're just moving because ZB ticked down. ZB ticking real slow too. We've still got 10 minutes for the equity markets. They haven't really. I guess there was a bit of a sell, but they've seemed like they're getting sucked up into this area. I got to give credit to Smash on this one. After he pointed that stuff out, I did some studying on it. That dude's a hidden gem. He is. That was one of those guys I feel bad because I think I was overly skeptical about him at first. I thought maybe he was trying to troll me, but he has shared with us some important things. And one of those, I mean, the thing is what we saw in ZB there was obvious, but sometimes you get really subtle moves, and sometimes the stacks are like further out. But they still do stuff. Whoa, okay, so there was some stops at 20.5 there. Curious. Now I need to learn to read the Vista chart. Well, it's the same thing as, I mean, you should see it on your DOM here, though, right? To me, the best way to see it is watching the DOM, because what's going to happen is if we tick up, you're going to see movement out of the corner of your eye. And then you're going to look down and you're going to say, oh, there's 5,019.5 now all of a sudden. Or whatever it is, right? You'll see all of these prices shuffle around and move. And you know, okay, that move caused people to change positions. What did they do? Ah, the people with sells pulled them. The people with bids added them. The Vista chart, it just gives you a historical record of it, right? So we can see here was the original stack. No, that wasn't the original stack. That was the second stack. Oh, no, right? It was the original stack. Okay. There's the original stack. We came up to a price where we couldn't quite get through. As we came down, some liquidity stacked on it. Now, as we're coming back up, it's actually lightening up a little bit, which is bullish. Yesterday, I placed my first trade from the Vista chart. I've never done that before. Oh, so you actually clicked on the Vista chart to get into it? I was told a large bond floor trader would look to short if the move was higher. Move higher was 16. I backtested this and it wasn't working out for me anymore. I've done some studying about specific prices, and one of the weird there was a little bit of edges in there. For instance, there is a slightly higher probability of them touching those 16. Like the way that I did is I took that swing indicator in NinjaTrader and I said, okay, so when it draws the swing saying that there was a pivot there, what prices is it at? And then did that over the course of 2 years and made a distribution profile of it. There was a little bit more common to see something trade at 16, but the one that stood out the most was that there was a significantly lower probability of the swing happening at 13. They don't like that price, and you can see right here, look. The move stopped just short of 13. They had a pullback. I think that they're probably going to eventually move up and push through it because the 16 is up there and everything and the strength of the trend. But they don't like 13. That's an edge. It's like a really bizarre statistical thing, but apparently one of the market maker robots out there or something has this thing programmed into it to take profits at 12 because they don't like 13. Okay. So E-mini ticked down 2 and I saw some order shuffle. Interesting. Yeah. It's those evens and 16 in ZB and then 10s. So like 10 and 20. It's like the larger traders have stuff there. Okay, so they ticked up at 12 and they're holding a pretty strong bid there now. So I think that people are going to get squeezed out at 13 and people are trying to sell 12. So we will want to pay attention to this 21 if we tick up. Okay, so about 1,000 pulled. That 20 half sure stacked up quickly. I'm not seeing stacks further down though, so it's a little. I think that the 30-year will suck us up, but it's an unlucky number here, yeah. I mean, it has to be that a big player, probably a robot, is specifically programmed to take its profits before 13, and that's what causes that. One possible explanation. Wow. Okay, so they traded 6,000 at 21. So that order did not pull. They traded it and they just bought all of it just all at once, and then 3,000 more bought on the other side of it too. I have a large textbook, the Encyclopedia of Indicators, and backtested some of them actually have positive expectations. The problem is short term, you may go broke. Yeah. I tell you what, Edge, I think that one of the reasons why older traders that have been successful always stress edge is because we say you need to have edge, but I think it's a little more complicated than that. I think that there are different statistical edges, right? Some edges don't happen very often, but you make a lot from them. Some edges happen all the time, but you don't make very much from them at all, right? And so there's this whole thing as like, you're going to see something and it's going to happen a lot, but then when it doesn't work, you lose a lot. And the market, that's how the market tricks you, right? Is they go in and they can say, okay, I can do this today because over the course of a month or over the course of a year, I have edge on it. And what happens is we just look at it from like the past week, or a new trader will just look at the past week and think, okay, well, over the past week, this has worked really well, so I should just do this. And then as soon as they start trading it, they start losing. They ate those 6K right while they're not trading a whole lot at 21 and a half. So this is again where I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this and I'm like, maybe I should pull my order. But my my statistic says that I'm not very good at taking it past 8. So even though this is a really strong trend, I think I need to take the profit there. There's the 16 is only 2 ticks away in ZB. Man. So, yeah. I was in this for a long time too. Are you talking my win percentage stick? So my win percentage right now, it really went down over the past 2 weeks. I've made some bad mistakes, man. But even after all those bad mistakes, I'm still sitting at like 45%. So like my win percentage and my loss percentage are about equal, and then there's about 10% that are scratches. So 45% winners, 45% losers, and 10% scratches. Before that, before I started like tilting, before we got into summer trading, I was hitting like 60% at some points. No attaboys, no attaboys. And Smash the Bed doesn't like being praised. Is that because you're afraid that your ego will get the best of you? Why do you say that? Or is it because you yourself don't think that you're that? You look at your own performance and you say, well, it's not super amazing either, though. Hmm. Raking in the big ones. The thing is that I was doing so well, and then I really came into the volatility and overtraded. I think ego is the worst enemy of a trader. The thing is I don't think it goes back to the you can't be free from emotion sort of a thing. I think that there are some things about human nature, they're just a part of human nature, and you kind of have to accept and work around. I think that um ego is always going to be there and a struggle. Okay, so here comes the e-mini. That's why we're getting this kind of behavior. Um the first impulse in the e-mini is buying. It's not incredibly strong, but it is there. Um, they might do like a head fake sort of a thing here. No. So when it makes the move here in the treasuries, that's a little weird. When they're making the move down, it's kind of hard for them to do it. Anyways, I think that the ego is always there in it, and I think that you kind of have to use it as a tool. Like when you're feeling really good about yourself, that's like a warning, you know? Even he's not stopping. I don't know, guys. Seems like that they're overextending it on purpose or something. I find it very curious that the Treasuries kind of absorbed that down move. I guess 20 is the bottom of the range. Must be why. It's still going. Hmm. Okay, something's going on here at 29.10. Hmm. Stacking not as strong on the offer as it was on the bid when it went up, so I don't know if it'll hold. Yeah. Can you help me out setting the Vista chart? I set my depth scope to 3. I am not looking any orders. That's interesting. You set it to 3. See, this 20 half is still weak, but not a lot of orders going through. Okay. It looks like you're getting maybe a little bit of selling now. Let's see if they sell it in the E-mini and if treasuries react to it. Well, there's already, well, they didn't sell it. It started to sell and people started to buy it at 20 half, and then the E-mini went up again. Yeah, the depth tuner. Okay. It took a few times to clear that, but they definitely stepped up there at 20 half. That's curious. ZB still moving up. NASDAQ going off. This is a curious move, guys. Okay. That's a much more significant sell now in ES. No, I'm noticing that there is some liquidity above us, but it is like beyond where we were at. It's up at like 24 now. And there's that big order at 15 in the 30-year. Going off into the dirt. Well, there was some selling there, but look, they stepped back up to it again. Okay, so there was a downtick. Hmm. It's a little curious, um, the way that the bid stacks on the upticks. They're able to get up to 15 to 2,000 very, very easily. Like that. I suppose the E-mini might be excited that treasuries are moving up again. Okay, see that again? So easy for them to get 1,500, 1,800. Okay, didn't take much for them to take 21 either. Okay, didn't take much for them to get 21 and a half. Well, I'm super tempted to cancel my order, but that would be against what I said I was going to do, huh? In fact, I might even need to take the 21 and a half instead. Oh wait, the E-mini sold big time there. Boom, now 15 is pulling. A little bit. A little bit. I'm gonna do what I said I'm gonna do, but I really think I should pull it. That this looks like a level break setup. This looks like it's gonna go to 23, maybe even past that to 25. Cool. Hands off. A little bit, a lot of it. It's fucking pulling, yeah. Now it's definitely pulled. Now it's only 500. No, they've traded it. They're gonna trade it. So here's something I've noticed happens in mm, I mean, I think it happens in all of them, but you'll see an order, it'll be like 1,000, and they'll step up to it, and it'll all pull. But then when they clear it, it still takes 1,000 to clear it. That was a real wild move. But you see the fight going on there. The significance is real, yeah. Well, I think that there's people like me. They had a target, and their statistics say that they have to take a profit there. And I think that when it gets up to that point, you have to say, well, if I have 6,000 contracts, it makes it a lot less likely for them to get through me. So I don't want to show them 6,000. So instead, what I'll do is as soon as they step up to it, I'll pull it. But I won't actually pull it. I'll just convert it into an iceberg. And then they trade into it and they still fill me. Okay, so I took the profit at 22, right? Yeah, 22. So let's see. I was saying that they might go to 24 or 25. Let's see how much I give up there. There's a lot of volume trading here at 22 and 25 half. That is like, it is giving me like continuation to the extreme right here. That is a lot of volume going through there. And look at that sell in ES. This is, man. This is a little weird because so far this is proceeding almost exactly the way that I kind of envisioned it happening over an hour ago. Am I crazy, or is that kind of what we said? Was that they're buying treasuries up and they're going to sell the E-mini, and they did a little bit of a head fake? Not a little bit of a head fake. It was a really big head fake, actually. He has, Uzi says he has 23. Oh, man. Well, I see no reason why they couldn't go for the high of the day in the 10-year for sure. Especially, now here's the other thing that's weird, is now I think you're going to see the spread reverse. Something's wrong with your P&L you made on that? Oh, well, I didn't change it. I should change it. Let's change it. So we made 125. Da, 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 da. I'm proud of myself. And I took the profit. Look at that. So that's funny. It may as of yet go much, much higher. But if I was still in this and that 22 just went offer, I think I would be panicking a little bit inside. CL, beautiful push from bids to fill that offer. Keep studying, Uzi. This stuff is worth the time. Let's see his picture. Huh. So he's pointing out that there was a big iceberg there, and there was some liquidity right there, and they came up to it, and then it sold off from there. So that could be that somebody really wanted to get filled at 53.80, and he may have even bought some stuff to try and create the move that would get him filled at the spot that he wants. The NASDAQ started really selling off way before the S&P. I think this turn in equities is pretty significant, yeah? I mean, does it show up in the chart as significant? No, not yet. I may be getting overly excited, but this feels significant to me. The fact that the Treasuries, what is the word that I'm looking for? The fact that the Treasuries foreshadowed the move almost an hour before it went, and it was almost textbook, makes me think that was a significant move. While the E-mini is coming back, they're going to test the open. See, this is where I get myself screwed over. That 22.5 was a lot. But it didn't continue through. They needed to cool off a bit. I could actually buy 21.5 and take a tick or two around here now. Should 21.5 was like the initial break, so they're going to try and hold 21.5. Uzi says there's no trades now. Well, now look at the way that it changed. Where's my pen? Did I close the pen? No, the pen's still somewhere. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. Use the little one. Okay. So here's the order. Here's the big order. Oh, why is it black? Yellow. Okay. So here's the big order in ZV. Okay. We came up to it and it filled. Now that we have filled, the first thing that I'm noticing is that the liquidity immediately around the bid offer in ZB is a little bit less than it was before. But then the other thing that I'm noticing is that now there is liquidity stacking below us. And we're getting a pullback. So I'm not exactly 100% sure what that means, but they have definitely reacted to it. not an iceberg. Bids are placing orders further out, like 50 ticks to press price into that offer. Volume is the other part of this. I'm only talking about resting orders. Okay. So that little bubble that was there in your picture, you're not necessarily reading anything into that. So when I see that, I see, okay, they were selling in an iceberg, held the bid, and it pushed it up into their order, and then as soon as they got filled, it turned around. That was Lucas again. It's actually Uzi sending me his thoughts. Wait, what are we talking? I'm lost. Are we saying that Lucas is this gigantic market maker that made that thing happen? Now, here's another thought for you guys. The pattern for the past, I want to say, I'm reading everything into the bubble. It's not volume, though. It's all depth, not volume. Oh, really? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so hold on. Let me bring this back up. Explain to me then. So if I see a bubble there like that, are you saying that means that somebody, that a large resting offer appeared at that particular point? Is that what that means? It's not volume? Oh, what did I read Lucas's comments and say that it was Uzi? you know, it's kind of been bothering me a little bit lately. I don't feel like that I've been doing a very good job at reading everybody's comments and properly attributing them, because in my mind, okay, he mentioned he coded his own bubbles. They're different from ours on Vista. I see. You can tell just by the drop in quality from the comments. Well, like, because from my perspective, I don't know, man. Uh, maybe it's just my subconscious trying to keep me humble, because I don't think that I'm a humble person, or at least, well, let me back up. I don't think that I'm a very self-aware person. I think that I'm probably more self-aware than your average person simply from trading, but I don't think that I am naturally a very self-aware person at all. I think that ADHD makes you very, like, the worst at the self-reflection and realizing what you're doing as you're doing it. And my self-awareness seems to all come in retrospect, you know? Well, when I'm doing it, I have no clue. Blue bubbles are bid depth, red bubbles are offer depth. I see. So he stacked a big bid there to push it up. That makes that sense. You take criticism well, since I couldn't expose myself the way you do. Well, thank you. I think at some point you just kind of become numb, right? No, but anyways, um, uh, I've been told by people that I have an ego. I remember in high school, my friends, we would go to like this technical college, so we were all doing computer stuff. So it was like geek heaven, and there was a good group of us, like 6 to 10 guys sometimes. Stick says that you suck. Thank you, Stick. And they were talking about Dragon Ball Z, and I had never watched Dragon Ball Z at that point. But this was back in like the Kazaa days. So like you could just go and download all these. They're like, oh yeah, you should totally watch Dragon Ball Z. Like that's like the most popular anime. You should watch that one. I had only seen Neon Genesis Evangelion at that point. Which, by the way, Neon Genesis comes at the end of June, and if you've never watched it, you should totally watch it. I think you guys would enjoy it. There's all sorts of government conspiracy stuff in there and stuff. It's a very cerebral show. Anyways, so they're talking about Dragon Ball Z, and they're like, and then Vegeta comes. And Vegeta, like, how do I explain Vegeta? He's very arrogant, kind of like you, Seth. So that was the first time in which I realized, you know what? I can be kind of arrogant sometimes. Now, I'm not going to explain the sizing differences and how I came up with how they should print top secret. Just know the depth is so important. Makes sense, Smash. But the gist of it that I think that we should be coming out with is that there was a change in the resting liquidity at that point that appeared to push it up. And when it did that, it kind of made it bounce up and then they let it fall back down through. Yeah. Because I've noticed something that really irks me. Wait, I'm not. Let me get into that in a second. Anyways, that was the first time that I thought maybe I'm a little arrogant. And when I look at this, I see it in myself where it's like when I catch a really good winner, I get like way too confident about it. I know like there's these periods when I do well and I'll take it again and again and again and do amazing. And so I try and push it. And then it seems like lately I've been doing it and it doesn't work out. But so from my perspective, I look at it as like I can be really dumb. So for me to come and run this as like a trading room, the way that most people would do this, as like, you know, I take the trades and I'm a great trader and everybody should be following my trades. And even though I lose some time over the long run, they should do well if they shadow my trades. I don't look at it that way. I don't want people to shadow my trades because I think that sometimes I really suck and I'm still learning a lot. And I think that you guys point out so many great things. It's just like the little observations here and there. You might not even, that might not be like a profitable strategy over the long run or whatever, but it's just one thing about that particular market that's different that we see. And I think that from that you can gain so much edge. You know, just like today, we noticed right away that move up was much stronger in the 30-year. And that made a big difference, I think. Because we knew, or I kind of figured, because it's so strong in the ZB, that must mean that it's a larger fundamental move, probably some sort of a spread trade, like somebody flattening. Anyways, so when you guys say stuff, I think it's important that I try and read every comment that I can, and that I attribute it, and that you guys get your just due. Because to me, the real value of this stream is you guys that comment, and it's not just random people. It's like, you know, the same group of guys. You guys are here every day, and you make good comments. It's just so amazing. You know, I never thought that that's what would happen when I started doing it. I thought that some people would use it for watching order flow and that would be the end of it. But then I started streaming and some just really great people show up and make the room a really great place. I'm just kind of lucky to be the person that's in front of it and gets to make a fool of himself, you know? The better purpose for a trading room to me is make multiple people making multiple observations in correlated markets they individually trade. Exactly. Because the thing is, like, to me, and you know what? I've noticed some longer term traders, they come in and they use it that way. They go in and they say, okay, I'm seeing something in the E-mini. What's going on here? Let's go and talk to the E-mini traders and see what do they think about this. And you gain some insight from that because you can see what different traders think. Well, it's interesting that we're stacking sixes at 22 now. They may, as of yet, come back up again and push through further, but this is now to the point where this is the trade that I always suck at. This is the one I'm always going to think, I should buy 20, and then it doesn't work out. Yeah. Well, and we've had some, so Shalama's been fun to talk to. There's been some other guys in cryptos. I'm convinced. I'm convinced that at least one of the Patreon subscribers is a whale. I'm not even kidding, because there have just been too many moves where I'll say something and then it'll do something. And it's sometimes it's in our favor, and sometimes it's like the worst thing that could possibly ever happen. But then it always the strategy is never like completely outright failed yet. And I am convinced that some of those moves might be people reading the comments and being in the chat. Because there was one guy, I remember there was I haven't seen him in a while, but remember there was that one guy that said that the indicator saved him like $20,000, $30,000. And that was back when Bitcoin was up at like 10K, right? So if he continued to play it smart, man, that's a whale. And it doesn't take much money to make the Bitcoin market move. Anyways, so now what was the other thing that we was going to go into? Oh yeah. So the one of the things that has been the most frustrating to me for my trading is exactly the thing that uh, Smash the Bit is pointing out with that particular picture. Is you'll see this thing in the 10-year. It kind of did it when we were about to bust the high, but then the E-mini turned around and it worked out for me. You'll get this thing, they'll tick down, and you want to see the bid, or in this case we're moving down, so you want to see the offer stack behind you, right? Seeing it move and immediately getting 10K, or sorry, 2K, that's a good thing, usually. That means that it could continue. Absolutely. Or at least the tendency is that it's going to continue. But if you get to the edge of the range and you're not sure that they even actually have the juice to break the top of the range, and then all of a sudden you see it tick up and there's like 3,000 on the bid or something like that, you got to be suspicious about that one. Because in range bound action, that one is so many times I've seen that and I go, oh, I want to buy that. I buy it and they immediately flip it on you. It is absolutely a lure of sorts. They stack it on there and they pull the next one because they want you to buy it so that they can get filled and then they can take it short and stop you out. Now, when we're in trending action, that is the absolute best signal to take long. Man, when we're in trending action, you see that uptick, and if there's a reason for it to move, you just click in, man, because you can get a good move after that. Because that might mean that somebody really wants to be filled, frankly, or that they just really want to move it. But anytime that you see that big bid, I always have to think, somebody wants it to move up. Are they actually going to make it move up beyond that? If it's range bound, maybe it's not. But the problem that I have is every time that I see that, I think that it's just going to take off, It tricks me so often, even though I know better oftentimes. Donald Trump says, good day in the stock market. People have no idea the tremendous potential our country has for growth and many other things. Oh, that was 3 minutes ago. Also retweeting Senator Rick Scott, why did the Democrats run if they didn't want to do things? Well, I will explain that to you, Mr. President. Hold on. We got anything else here? This is ZB is doing the same thing this time on the offer with orders. Totally. Well, in the 10-year, came back almost completely, and look at all of the offers that they're leaving behind on the other side. And those offers are way stronger than the bids that we had. And this goes back to that thing where what they've been doing recently is you'll get kind of an impulsive risk-off move up in Treasuries, and then the whole rest of the day they sell it. That's what we've been getting. And what will happen is is I'll take it for a continuation and then they just keep selling it. So I'm probably just going to take my 1 8 tick trade and live action. That's the tough thing with treasuries. ES may lead and they may move only a tick or two back and forth, and that's why I need to understand what's driving the market. Yeah. Well, the way that I would explain it is this, because they ask that question to John Grady a lot, and he has a good answer for it, but it's kind of an amorphous thing because it's like, oh yeah, there's definitely a correlation and it can be helpful, but then as soon as you start trading it, it doesn't go, sort of a thing, you know. The way that I would put it is, if you think that the Treasury is going to move because you see something setting up in the E-mini, you're better off just taking a trade in the E-mini, right? Now, when it's the other way around, it's different. When you see a move in the Treasuries and you think that it's going to cause a move in the E-mini, it's a great idea to take it in the Treasuries. Today, I don't think it worked out so great. I mean, the sizing difference, for me, it's more worth it for me to take it in ZN. But on a move like that, what will happen oftentimes is we'll come up to 22, and then the E-mini sells, and then, okay, we got a pretty big pullback. I think that was too big of a pullback for this to be happening, but you might see something where it's like a little bit of a pullback, and then the E-mini really sells, and the treasuries will it'll be like a measured move, and they'll go, another 8 ticks or whatever it is. Trading those rotations is an art. Yeah. Grady changed his approach. He now looks for correlations more than before. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, the thing with correlations is that I feel like anytime that I really take a trade I see some order flow that really makes me think that the E-mini is going to go short, and so I should buy treasuries because of that. Every time I take that trade, it doesn't work out. But I find the correlations so helpful because they explain why it's doing what it's doing. It seems to me that the main reason for this move today was coming from the euro, actually. If I'll just explain why I think that. If I come over to the 6J, the 6J moved up, but it's a teeny tiny little bit, relatively speaking, from some of the larger moves that we've had in the past week. That's like pretty insignificant in the 6J. But in the 6E, that's a relatively large move across the range. And not only that, but Donald Trump was tweeting about the euro before we went in. And so I think that you have this sort of a thing where it's like, okay, people in Europe are doing a flight to safety and buying treasuries. And so if that's what's happening, then you should be able to turn around and sell the E-mini. And sure enough, here's where they opened. They did a head fake and they sold the E-mini. I don't know if they're going to go lower or not. I actually think they probably will test lower. I don't know if it's a super great trade for me, though, and an instrument that I'm not as familiar with. Yeah. Yeah. Good day in the stock market, and then they sell it. But that's the thing, is that I think that what happened there was that Donald Trump saw the pre-market action. He maybe even saw some news headline that the markets were up in the first 10 minutes of trading, and he has no clue that they're setting it up to sell it already anyways. I don't think that it was because he said that. Guy from Theo Trade have good explanation for that. It's about hedging activity that drives the market. I find the tick helpful in the ES, and I also use it as a delta. What I mean is the tick may be climbing and ES will be stuck sandbagging reversal. Yeah. I don't really get those indicators. I wish that I had the tick. I also wish that I had like the 10-year, 30-year yield, because I would really like to make um, I would really like to make a, an indicator for Ninja Trader that showed you the yield curve. And it would have one line for what it is today and one line for what it was yesterday or something like that. I think that would be cool, but I digress. What's this chart that Julian just put in? It's ZB. He's pointing out that we kind of did a false breakout of sorts. Now they're pushing higher. Interesting. Yeah, if you want to trade the E-mini and you're not looking at things like tick, it would be a good thing to look into for sure. And Peter Davies from Jigsaw Trading has a few webinars. He actually brings up it. He talks about it. So, whoa. Neff sent me a ton of stuff that I think would be really useful to me for psychology. He says, what works for me is when you get stuck in these psychological traps like you did last stream, I ask myself, what's the most logical thing to do in this situation based on all the information I have available to me right now? Usually asking myself that kicks me back into the objective judgment gear again. You know, I think that I get this thing where I'm against the action and I don't want to give up, sort of a thing. For sure. But the thing that I feel like that's been happening to me more lately is I'll be in a trade, right? Like, let's just say that I had done what I've kind of been doing and I had bought 22. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, you know what? I think that they're actually going to go higher. I think that's kind of silly at the moment because they really stacked the offers behind us, and I really don't think that you can do that. But maybe I didn't notice that, or maybe that didn't happen. Okay. And I'm thinking, I think that they're going to come back and maybe even I could get higher than 22, so I should hold it. Or maybe I think, yeah, this is a bad trade. But where do I get out? You know? So if I was long from 22, should I just puke into 20.5 right now? Or should I be waiting to see if I can get a fill at 21 and 21.5? And I don't know the answer to the question. I don't have any way, especially since it's probably so situationally specific. I'm not quite sure when to do it. I do know from my past 6 months of trade that accepting the 8-tick winner, that my discretion on when to get out has edge. But I sure seem to find myself in that kind of conundrum where I want out and I'm not sure where to get out, and I feel like I can't get out. And then it turns out that you were just never going to get filled on limit anyways, and you should have just market ordered out. My psychology is if I feel uneasy, my mind is warning me no trade. I'm obviously missing something why the market is moving the way it is. Yeah, I think that I need to start to do that a little bit more. So on this thing that Adrian in Live Actions was talking about, he trades options, but it's all connected, as he points out, because big firms using ES for hedging their portfolio because most of them are using delta hedging strategy. So so let me explain how the hedge funds do this. Say I want to buy equities, okay? And it's like the beginning of the month or the beginning of the quarter, okay? I want to buy equities and I plan on holding those equities long for the whole quarter, okay? And I really believe in this trade, like that's the trade, okay? But there's this big question out there, which is, what is the Federal Reserve going to do? If the Federal Reserve raises rates, then you know, that could be a problem. And there's another issue, which is that, there's borrowing money and things like that. So if I'm like using margin and I'm paying interest on that margin, and then the interest rates go up, then I'm going to, I'm going to be losing money on that, right? So what they have to do is they have to say, okay, if interest rates go up, then I need something that makes money when the interest rates go up. So they sell the treasury. Okay. So I buy the E-mini and I sell the treasury. Now you would say, well, why would you do that? That's not really a hedge because the treasury goes up and the E-mini goes down. But it is a hedge because it's a hedge specifically against the interest rate. If the interest rate goes up, that's going to make the E-mini go down. And so I want to make money on the treasury moving down. Okay. Now here's the key. The reason why I brought that out. Okay. They want to be in this position for, a month or a quarter or whatever it is. And they're hedging themselves specifically against the change in interest rate, right? Which we know is going to happen at specific times based on when the FOMC meeting is, right? So if you go back and you run the stats, and I'm not going to show you the stats, but you're just going to have to program it yourself. And you can use the stats indicator that I posted on NinjaTrader 8 to do it. I've never done it based on specific dates, but I've done it based on the time of month and things like that. And you will find that there is more interest rate speculation at the beginning of the month and the beginning of the quarter and the beginning of the year, specifically because, at least my theory is, specifically because the hedge funds have to consider more into the hedge. If it's at the end of the month, there's not a whole lot of time for the interest rates to move anymore. And so they're not concerned about it as much. And therefore, there's not as much reason for them to buy or sell treasuries. Make sense? The hedging is a big part of it. It's not just the correlation. It also tells you what days or times of the month are going to be more active, because the equity traders need the hedging more. It depends on how long they're going to hold it. So if you see a big change in the market, like if it's the beginning of the month and you're really sure that the E-mini is like reversing, then you're probably going to see a lot more activity in the treasuries at that time because of that. Okay, so Stickball says if you're being in a trade like that is not good, you should just cut it straight away. I think you want to cut it for sure. I think I'm not sure that I believe that I should just always. I mean, if it was like -3, like so going back to our example, I said that I would have bought it at 22 and we were at 20.5. It came back up, So I could have scratched it or taken -1 at 21.5. It seems to me that there's this whole thing about people aren't getting fills and they're just going to sweep it through you. That there's a condition, and I think that you should be able to see it, but I don't see it usually. That was kind of what I was getting at. Adrian says, I want to point out that most of the action is hedging activity. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, I don't want to say that it's like 80% of all activity, but it's a huge part. I mean, just the fact that we are futures tells you that the action is, I mean, the hedgers are the people that we're trading against, essentially. I used to trade in a room that had multiple hedge funds, and they hedge all sorts of things. I bet. It can get complicated. The other thing is that a hedge fund might not hedge, probably isn't going to hedge in outrights, right? they're probably going to hedge it in treasuries. Or sorry, in spreads. What am I saying here? A lot of it is in spreads, right? Now that's where we start to get to the limit of my knowledge, because the move that we saw today was definitely, looks to me like, because FYT barely moved. I mean, it moved a little bit, but not a ton. Okay. It actually moved first but I see there was definitely a move down, so flattening in the knob spread. So why are they flattening? Because treasuries go up. Normally when treasuries go up, you're steepening, right? Treasuries moved up. We flattened. So it's a bull flattener, which is unusual. And it only happened on the longer end of the curve, which is unusual. So what trade was somebody making there? I don't understand that. But I will tell you, I do remember a situation similar to this. I don't think that it was like the same directions and everything like that. But what we did see was significant activity on the long end of the curve. And a week later, we found out, or the news reported, that what happened was a very large hedge fund came in and took a trade based off of them speculating that governments were going to have to offer to pay for all their fund, to get funding. They were going to have to offer more long-term treasuries, and those long-term treasuries coming out onto the market were going to affect things. And so they took a trade like that. And that one was really weird, because that one was the only time I think I've ever seen where straight up the 30-year moved up and the 10-year moved down. They went in opposite directions, and it was super weird and confusing. I think I made money on that one, but it was super weird. I wonder if something similar is going on right now, because the E-mini, it kind of seemed like that was part of what was going on, was the E-mini was too high and they were going to sell it. I suppose if we had an 8-tick move up, and that could just be the explanation, was somebody thinks that equities are oversold and they're going to sell it. But the fact that the knob spread moved so much makes me think that maybe something bigger is at work here. And I don't know what it is. Most of the big futures firm use FESX for hedging if the trade outright. And the stock firms use options for hedging. Well, that's true too. Well, that's why I'm saying, for us, the activity that they are specifically trying to hedge themselves against is specifically the change in the interest rate. And particularly the change in interest rate over the term that they are holding the position. So the closer they are to when they want to take the position off, the less reason they have to hedge. That's the key for that particular theory. Because you're right. If they think that stocks are going to move down, or that there's going to be some global, I mean, sometimes they buy treasuries, but if I was trading stocks, I would probably use options at that point. I would probably just buy puts, If I thought that was going to happen and things were moving up, then puts are cheap way to protect yourself. You just buy puts. Unless you think that it's really just going to go down, and then you actually sell. I mean, if you think that there's like a recession or something like that. Yeah. Fair? I don't know. Anyways. So did any of you guys try and take that long from 20? when it came down and it formed that zipper, I kind of thought, well, maybe you could buy it. It might break out, but at least you might be able to get a few ticks as it retraces that range. It looks like that trade would have worked. So there's a stack of 20 half. That's a tough call. So let's just say that I bought 20. Should you take +2? Or could you maybe get 21 half? Well, it says that you could get 21 half because that actually went offer at one point. They're already turning, so probably you want to get out at 21. But they might come back to 20 half and they might bounce again. The E-mini might not be done. What else? There was one other thing I wanted to talk. Yesterday, I feel like I was so, just mad at myself because you can't blame the market, Like, think about it. If you're having a bad day and you take a trade that's bad, and say you're me and somebody's watching you that's like has a lot of power in the market and they say, "Oh, I feel so bad for Seth. Let's give him one." Right? Are you really helping Seth at that point? Right? Because if he is making a bad trade and then you reward him for making that bad trade, he's just more likely to make the bad trade in the future, right? You're not really helping him at that point. So you can never blame the market, right? Sometimes things just happen and they just happen and it's random, frankly. But it was kind of down. And so we didn't talk about any super interesting stuff, but there was one thing that I wanted to talk about. Did you guys see? It ain't that deep, bro. Nah. Well, the reason why I bring that up is because I think that some people think that that they should just throw you a bone. Like when you look at the larger economy, and it's like, well, here's the larger economy. You have so much money, you should just give it to the rest of us. But what we know is that if you just give people the money, it's not really helping them. Most of those people, they don't even know what to do with that money yet, and they end up wasting it. But the thing that it would be most valuable to that person is to learn how to make the money themselves. And if you just give it to them, then you're denying them that opportunity. So you're not really helping them. And I think it applies to the market too. Anyways, but that was what was happening yesterday. But there was one thing that I wanted to talk about. Also, the sun is following you. Can you see that my sunburn? Can you see how my head is like peeling? Is it? Oh yeah, now you can really see it. Look at that. That is so gross. I'm kind of embarrassed to go out like to work today because everybody's gonna see it. I look ridiculous, guys. You can't really see it too well on the webcam, but in person, it's like, what the hell is wrong with your head, Seth? Yeah, it's bad. Anyways, but what I wanted to talk about. Did you guys see that picture of Pete Buttigieg? Did you see that? Wait, let me find it. Wear a hat. That's what I should do. Where is it? Does he have a picture of? No, that's a video. I don't want a picture. Man, where's the picture? Maybe if I go to images. Oh, I'm gonna have to go to Reddit to find it. This right here. Do you see this picture? It's Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg. I don't know how to say it. I forgot how to say it. At one point I knew how to say it, and now I've forgotten because there wasn't any reason to talk about him. If only humans had a way to shield their heads from the sun, right? I didn't. I wasn't. It was like overcast. I didn't think I was gonna get sunburned. Anyways, this was like Saturday. But look at this picture. Look at this. He is drinking beer in a park out of a paper bag like a homeless guy. The hell? Look, Pete. Pete. I've said this to many presidential, on my little series here. I'm still doing that. It's just there hasn't been much to talk about, but we'll have a little rundown before the debate. But listen, Pete, do you actually want to be president? I I think you want to be president. I mean, sometimes people don't actually want to be president. I think you want to be president. So if you want to be president, here's my suggestion to you. Don't do dumb things. Drinking in public, it's a dumb thing. I cannot believe this should be like the top. This one is kind of flying under the radar. If this happened later in the primaries, or if this was happening like during the presidential campaign, that picture right there, that would be the end of your campaign. Like straight up, Pete, that this could be the end of your campaign. I cannot believe that you would do that during drinking out of a plastic, out of a, a paper bag. If you get too much sun on your head, the UV damage will give you wrinkles on top of your head. I know. I usually wear a hat. I was just being dumb. Yeah. One ES can resume its uptrend, so we might move down. Anyways, that was my rant. That was my rant for today. Pete may have just thrown his campaign in the shitter. I mean, I'm not seeing like Democrats talking about it, but I just don't see how you have a picture like that of you out there and you become president. I think that one's pretty hard. What do you think? He's trying so hard for the rolling down the street, sipping on gin and juice vote. When in my last video, I had that thing that was like, okay, if you're Bernie Sanders and you want to win, how do you do it? And I gave a couple of suggestions, and it's kind of interesting. I don't think that they watched it, but I think that it was just, was good advice that knowledgeable political operatives would have known and followed, and they're doing. He's been doing all of those things. And one of the things that I said was that you need to go out and like shake hands, because that gets you the older votes. And for the black voters, you've got to talk about systemic problems. You don't have to go overboard with it like some people do, but you do have to go in and say, okay, here's this particular thing that's going on that is shows that there is some discrimination against black people, and here are some things that we can do to fix it. That's the way that you get the black vote. Okay, you don't pander. Going out and saying, well, we should give all black people, $1,000 a month as reparations for slavery. That does not work. In fact, far left white liberals believe in that sort of thing far more than black people do. Black people actually aren't all that enamored with the idea. So you can't pander. You just have to speak to the issue. You just have to go in and say, I'm aware that there are things and there's stuff that we can do about it. You don't have to pander and be like, these are all of the goodies that I'm going to give you. I don't think you have to go that far. I think that listen, I live in Utah, so I don't know a whole lot of black people, but I've had a few friends, and I think that they're smart people. Like they understand people, and I think that they understand when they're being pandered to. And I think that what Pete is doing here in this picture, if you're going for the black vote, is like the worst way to do it, because I don't think that they're going to buy it. I think that they go, oh yeah, there's a politician trying to look like us. I think that that's what they think. And then there's all of the other people that, the Democrat Party is in constant outrage mode and stuff. And you just, Man, it's very foolish. It could be the end of his campaign. I'm not even kidding. Could be the end of his campaign. Okay, so a couple of comments here, and then we gotta go because it's 8:30, and I was like way too late yesterday. Make that 2,975. Wait, the days go short. 29.25. You know what, man? I really feel ya. I think that it's gonna go short at some point. Just because you weren't here earlier, let me tell you what happened. The PPI number came out and it was in line. There were some people buying going into the PPI number, maybe because Donald Trump tweeted about inflation or something, but the numbers were in line, so there was like a nothing burger. And so all of those guys that had bought into the news sold, and we moved back down. And then we tested this 16.5, but it was really super uneventful. And then when we started ticking up, there was some really strong trend. So we trended all the way up. And then we got to the E-mini open, and I thought that the E-mini was going to do a head fake of some sort. So I kind of held on to it because they were still buying it, even though the E-mini moved up. And sure enough, on the open, there was this huge come off in cumulative delta that you can see here. And now they've come back and they're kind of pulling back. It looks like a short to me, but I'm not 100% sure. But hopefully that's helpful to you. Okay. Keep that man away from hot sauce bottles. He's going to get himself in some serious shit. Right? You can go on the Breakfast Club and tell the hosts that you were sitting in your dorm room smoking weed listening to Snoop's first album 3 years before it dropped. Oh, right. Kamala Harris saying that too. It really is like, I don't know what the deal is. I don't think that they're like some crazy unique demographic that you really have to do something different to. But it seems to me like that the Democrat Party has kind of gotten into this mode where like they feel like the only way that they get elected is by promising people stuff. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I feel like is going on. Could be wrong, but that's how I see it. So stick talking about some Australia stuff here. The government gives benefits to Aboriginal people here that white people don't. And most Aboriginals are middle class. Is that really the case? That's interesting. I did not know that. I'm going to go and research that. Because I would have thought that there would have been a lot of angst about that. So it's kind of weird. They're terrified of losing them. It wouldn't take much of the black vote to switch sides and mess it all up for Democrats. Yeah, absolutely. And they should be scared. Because the polling suggests that the black community does not agree with many of the major tenets of the Democrat Party right now. This is the thing, is that the diversity side, I like to call it the diversity side, because I think it's not just black people. I think that it's any minority. There's real concern out there in the Democrat Party that's probably overblown, but at the same time, it's kind of like if it's ever happening anywhere, then we should try and do something about it. But I'm just not so sure that it should be like the primary reason you're voting for something. But there's real concern about prejudice out there right now that is maybe perhaps overblown. And that's the diversity side of the Democrat Party. But there's the other side of the Democrat Party, which is the socialist and politically correct side of the Democrat Party, right? The socialists, their primary thing is that they want socialism, obviously. But then the thing is that on the other side, they've found that the best way for themselves to get things is to be outraged by things. So they're always calling people out, trying to silence certain particular voices that they don't like and argue with things like that. And the problem is that the diversity side does not like that. Honestly, think about it. You're concerned about prejudice, and then what do you see them going out and doing is they're demonetizing people on YouTube and stuff, like literally burning books. It's pretty crazy. Now, of course, that's another thing. That's something on the Republican side. Um, Probably this purge is not as big of a thing as we probably think. Like, there's a couple of channels that it happened to that it shouldn't have happened to, and definitely it shouldn't be happening at all. But I'm not quite sure that it's the epidemic that the social media panic probably suggests. Um, just going off of the way that these things normally tend to go. Um, but anyways, so there are actually some things about the black community that are kind of okay. The socialist wing of the party is very much what was I gonna say? Um, they're very much like into the whole LGBT thing, and the diversity side does not necessarily care about that. The diversity side wants people to all have equal rights and to be protected, sure, but they kind of feel like that it's going too far and that they're outright trying to promote and like recruit or something, because those voters, especially the black voters, but also Mexicans as well, Hispanics rather, um, they don't vote for those particular things. And so I think, yeah, the Democrat Party, if they're not careful, have run the very strong risk of overstepping and losing some of those minority groups. And it wouldn't take very many of them to move over to completely erase the Democrat demographic advantage. Okay, so let's see here. So suddenly privileged Democrat politicians listen to rap music, smoke weed, and drink 40s out of paper bags. No, yeah, it's patronizing. I agree. I agree. Um, and me as a voter, I don't really care what you listen to. I don't think that most people. I don't think that that really helps you. I think that appearing human helps you. Having like a fun moment, like if you like a particular musician and you have a fun moment with the musician that goes viral on social media, that sort of a thing helps you. But the straight up pandering, like, oh, I like this thing because this is what my demographic. I don't think that it really helps you all that much. Imagine Trump walking out on stage wearing gold chains, saggy pants, and a set of high tops and throwing kings. I mean, there's a lot of memes on the internet of Trump doing that, aren't there? Mm, it's quite odd because there are people who are Aboriginal here but white, and they still get the benefits because their grandmother or great grandmother was Aboriginal, but no one would know that they're Aboriginal. Here that behavior is called passing. So how much do they actually get though? I don't know. It's kind of a weird. I mean, I'm not gonna say that it's like outright evil sort of a thing. I don't think that it's a great idea, but the Aboriginals in in Australia really had a heart. So, you know, yeah, like slavery was awful, but they were like just straight up hunting down Aboriginals at one point, right? So, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I'm surprised that I don't believe they get money. So what are is the benefit then? Like medical benefits or nicer something such and such like that, but they get services that others don't. Okay, I think that that's very different. Hmm, really interesting. Well, you get this. There's real problems with the politics of envy, isn't there? But that's probably a discussion for another day. Well, I feel really good. I feel like I Everything I know about Australia, I learned from Quigley Down Under. I was just thinking the exact same thing, Ace, but I wasn't going to say that. That's a good show. Oh, I should go watch that now. No, you know what? I don't have any time to do that sort of a thing right now. I'm working on my yard. I actually have grass coming on Saturday. We've ordered the grass, and we have some dirt out there, and we've probably got like, I want to say 60% to 75% of the dirt put out. Maybe it needs to be evened out a little bit more. And there's the ramps, which are just a mess still, but yeah, so I'm going to work on that tonight. My wife is gone, so it'll just be me, and my mom helped with the weeds in that area, so we should be able to clean that area up. And then I don't know if I'm going to have to do it on Wednesday and Thursday. I might just go to the gym. I'd rather go to the gym because I'm going to be gone next week. Oh, and that's the other thing that I did tell you guys that, right? I'm going to be gone next week. So, yeah. Do need a break. It always sucks to take a break, but we should take a break. I'll still pop into Discord every day and look at the chart, but I'm not going to be trading next week. Hopefully nothing super cool happens. I'll be looking at it and being like, no, why they're buying it and I'm not there. But it's unfair. We're a multicultural country. Yeah, I want to read more about that because I don't want to. I'm just so surprised. That would be the sort of thing that I would think that a lot of conservatives would like really harp on and say, hey, you know, they do this in Australia and it's not such a good thing. But great. So how are we going to trade without you? Class action lawsuit? Well, Ace, you're going to come in to the Discord and then you're going to take charge like that. That's how we're going to do it, I think. So the Discord is there so that we don't have, so that there's still chat when we're not streaming. I prefer the chat to be, the YouTube chat to be more, directly talking with me and fun stuff and spamming if you really want, and kind of the more serious stuff to be in Discord. But yeah. Anyways, okay, so it is now 8:42. I'm going to go and post my notes. Make sure you guys give that like button a hit. I did good, so we should make sure. Because I did good. No thanks. Just leave me the keys, Heroes. Okay, maybe we can do that too. Maybe at some point. It was probably a little bit too close to organize something like that now, but I would absolutely be thrilled to do some sort of guest hosting or guest videos too. Like if you wanted to put together a video and we could put it on the video and we could put it on the channel and, it'd even give you the revenue that you get from it. That would be great. Or, if you have your own channel, we'll definitely want to help support you guys because it's all about building a community. Anyways, I'm going to head out. I will make sure you give that video a like so that, the videos where I do well are the ones that YouTube suggests to people. Leave a comment on the video too. That helps a lot. And check out the Patreon if you haven't checked out the Patreon. There was a little bit of a sell in Bitcoin today, so yeah. And I will catch you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay profitable, friends.